To order, Wednesday, April 13th. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We take roll, Mary?
Murray?
Here.
Goodzinger?
Here.
Grimby?
Here.
Wacky here, Patrick.
Yep. Approval of our March 1st work session.
Motion to approve March 1st work session minutes as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And our March 9th regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve those as amended. And on page 4, where the planning commission dates, we actually didn't take a roll, so I crossed that off where it says all ayes and our motion carried. So I'd like to make a motion to amend that as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Set and amend the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda to work from. Bills.
You're muted.
Okay, we're paying the bills. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Mary.
I'll make a motion to pay the previously paid fire bills, $41,250.45. General, $19,433.57. Payroll fire, $66,118.83. General, $23,743.05. Current open fire invoices, $2,396.42. General, $12,258.27. Tax disbursements, $667,811.50. Trust and agency paid out, $1,300. Current open, $200, for a total of $834,512.09.
I'll support that. Are there any questions on the bills? Go ahead, Mary.
Murray?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Grimby?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes, please. The bills are paid. Public comments, please.
I just want to inform the public that a trustee seat and a treasurer seat are up, open. If anybody would like to run, that would be wonderful. The deadline is next Tuesday, March 19th at 4 p.m. And please, if you do run for treasurer's position, make sure that you know how to do bookkeeping and budgets, because it was very clear at the last meeting what happened with the fire department budget was extremely uncalled for. And the fire chief had been at every budget workshop, and none of that was brought up until that meeting, and I thought that was very disgraceful. Thank you.
And the deadline, just to clarify, it's April 19th?
Not March 19th, correct?
Yeah.
No, April 19th.
That's all right.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
How you guys doing today? If you'll indulge me a minute, I just want to go over something. Mr. Grumby, I was here last time, and you weren't able to hear my spiel, so I wanted to kind of get up, do it again for you. So, good evening, Township Board. My name is Sean Erb. I am the current tournament director for the Armada Baseball Association. Thank you for taking the time to listening to me to speak today. I stand here before you urging you to vote for the addition of lights on our East Township field. When I visited the meeting last month, I was able to go over some numbers, and I'd like to quickly recap those for you. Each year, about 60 to 70 kids utilize the East Township field. We average about 16 to 20 regular season games with an interleague tournament at the end of the season. We built this field with your support 6 years ago.
Actually, the township built the field for the Armada Baseball
Yeah.
Association. Please, thank you.
Yep. That averages out to 360 Armada kids that have been able to play on the field thus far. Currently, we can only play one game an evening due to early darkness in the spring. If we had the ability to provide lights, games would double at that field. We also hold a tournament at the end of the year, which is an open tournament. We invite other teams up from outside. We draw over 60 teams per year into our park, with teams ranging from southern Ohio all the way to Alpena. We average 48 to 60 games per weekend. We draw just over 3,600 spectators a day. On our 4-day weekend tournament, that's almost 15,000 spectators that come and enjoy our wonderful township park. And that number doesn't include players or coaches. All stores and restaurants in town report increased revenue for weekends we have tournaments. They actually contact us to see when we're having them, sponsor some of the, as much as they can, and support us for doing it. Moving forward, things we could do if we had lights: host more tournaments. West Branch currently holds a Midnight Madness tournament under the lights. Spots are limited and they sell out within hours of posting it. Work in conjunction with other cities to start a softball league. There's been talk of an Inter-Armada kickball league, host concerts, food truck rallies, or family event nights. Things would be endless. If you would, indulge me for a second. I'd like to paint a picture in your mind of what we can achieve. Picture yourself, 12 years old, it's a warm spring day, and you're riding with your parents down North Avenue. Your windows down, wind blowing in your face, heading to AmVets Field. The sun has started to set, with dust starting to cover the sky. The last red beams of sun reflect off the clouds. Approaching Armada from the north of town, you make your final turn just past Dayton Road. Going over the bridge, you see the glow of the lights in the sky over the baseball field. Slowing down and turning in the first drive, and there's the field all lit up. You patiently wait for your parents to park the car. As soon as you hear that last click of the car shifting into park, your seatbelt gets ripped off. Doors open, you hop out of the car, almost forgetting your mitt, as you approach the field, smelling fresh cut grass, hot dogs on the roasting grill. The twinkle of diamonds shine in the outfield grass as the lights reflect off the dew. You can feel your heart beating in your chest, excited with anticipation to what's to come. As you and your teammates hang up the equipment and get ready to play, we all line up for the national anthem, hands over our hearts and smiles ear to ear. The song ends and the coach yells, "Okay, kids, let's take our spot." As you trot out to the field, the umpire tosses you the game ball and you begin to warm up. In what seems like seconds, he yells, "Play ball." You reach into your mitt, find that perfect grip, go into your windup, reach back, and throw with everything you have. In that moment, life seems perfect. This story has happened to generation and generation of Armada families. In fact, this story is one I recall as my childhood. The year was 1987, and my coach was Tom Dominic. We were the Braves. We were playing against Jim Van Hook, and his team was the Tigers. These lights will have a significant impact on generations of Armada residents for a lifetime. Give our children memories that make them want to return to this town and want to raise families here. Over the last several years, the ABA has been diligently holding fundraisers in support of the new addition of lights on the East Township field. Through many generous contributions, we are now financially able to support this project with the help of the township. I encourage you to provide more memories for the youth in this town. Please vote yes for the lights for our kids and for their future. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Hearing none? Correspondence and information. May 14th, large item pickup day is at the township transfer site. They've been pretty good about handling larger items all the way through the year, but it is one of the 2 days a year we specify a large item day. So
And I already contacted Jeff, and he's got the crew already.
Ready. Yep. And hopefully, because people have been bringing on a regular basis, people don't still have garages full. I know they did a pretty good clean out during the COVID thing. Okay. Macomb County Board of Commissioners. Last Thursday, I attended a meeting at the Macomb County Board of Commissioners. The board had voted to reconsider the annexation request by Chetsikowski to Romeo Village. I'm still waiting for information on when that meeting will be held to make our case again. So at this current time, they did vote to send it back to the County Board of Commissioners for reconsideration.
Thank you for the update.
Yep, I think the information is in
Yep.
here too. isn't
Yep,
it?
it is.
Fire Department, Chief?
Ladies and gentlemen, for the month of March, the fire department responded to 84 calls, 73 were EMS related, and 11 were fire. We did provide aid twice to surrounding communities, and overlapping calls were 16.67%. In an effort for the fire department to keep up on trying to find grants, I just wanted to update everybody that we currently have 5 grants that are pending. Understand these are all very competitive and very difficult to get, so please don't think these are given. Any of these are anywhere from 2 to 25% chance. The one we did was for Safer Grant, was to increase manpower. That was approximately $1 million grant. We also did one through the FEMA for an ambulance purchase, which was $230,000. We did 2 separate grants, one through federal government, one through the state of Michigan for new stretchers, the power cots. Each of those are $100,000. And then we just submitted one the other day to Firehouse Subs for a UTV that's equipped with a stretcher and for Fireland. Again, these are what's out there. Between July and August, we should start. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance official. We have a final inspection to take place on 4/25/22. There has been some significant progress made on the property. Still much needs to be done. We'll go back out for that final inspection on 4/25. The possible offense violation is still in the Planning Commission. They're reviewing the Open Meetings Act regarding administrative review, so that still has to come back from planning. And the medical marijuana grow operation on Old Farm Trail is closed. The home did not pass the requirements for residency. They had no proof of residency to claim home-based occupation, and the lights that they were used weren't approved by the electrical inspector, so the house has been listed for sale.
And just for anybody listening to clarify, so that property was grandfathered in and allowed to be considered for a home-based business because it was grandfathered in, is that correct?
They came in prior to us passing the ordinance that it had to be done in.
Yeah,
But in order for them to do that, they did have to follow the guidelines of not only the home-based occupation, but the medical marijuana grow ordinance we had in place at that time.
yeah, but so I just want to make that clear that residential properties currently cannot create a home-based business for that.
Correct. For medical grow, that's been passed by the board, and it has to be in the industrial corridor, which,
I just wanted to clarify for anybody listening.
yep, nope, yep, they have to be able to do,
Yeah.
any new medical marijuana grows needs to be in the industrial district now. Building department.
Planning?
Oh, yeah,
Commission,
planning
I'm
commission.
sorry. I looked at planning commission and read building department, so yeah, planning commission, please.
Okay, everyone has their packet with, the annual report. It looks really good. Laura did a nice job on it. My report on the planning commission meeting was that a discussion was added to the agenda regarding administrative review, with the township board voting to adopt ordinance 11437, which is an ordinance to amend section 4.04, no further action should be addressed by the commission. Both DJ and Joe expressed interest in attending webinars through MSU Extension. All reports were received and filed. Discussion took place regarding master plan implementation recommendations. A list of suggested items was given to the commission by our planner, Laura Hawk. Further discussion took place regarding the notice we received with regard to the Ray Township master plan notification and how we could work together on this with regard to our shared boundaries. Chair, vice chair, and secretary positions were voted on. The seats remain the same. Some of the planning commission projects, Laura distributed a sample of a user-friendly schedule of permitted uses, similar to the one that DJ had provided from one of the classes he took and that was well received. We talked about shipping containers, more stringent guidelines on the foundation and appearance. So as these containers blend in with the surroundings, as well as not having any lettering or logo or anything on them. This item was tabled for language pertaining to scope. We talked about small-scale entertainment and some of the different parameters on that. We agreed to table that to have more discussion. Capacity issues was one of the concerns. Garage size limitations was also tabled because there was just more information required. And the motion was made to leave the ordinance regarding the accessory buildings in the front yard, section 2.03 as is, with no further amendments or discussion, and the meeting was adjourned at 9:30. I also have an email from DJ that he wanted me to present. Says, hello everyone. I presented this info at the May 21 meeting, but I think it needs repeating. When an agenda is amended on the night of the meeting, it is a great disservice to the members of the Planning Commission as well as the public. When the PC isn't given proper time and information to prepare, it usually leads to poor decisions. Last meeting was a perfect example. A motion was made to halt all administrative reviews. The administrative review is not even something that the PC implements, and it certainly doesn't have the authority to nullify an ordinance which the board has approved. Obviously, this motion has no effect, but more importantly is how we conduct our meetings. Our rules of procedure state 3C, all matters to be placed on the agenda for action at a regular meeting shall be submitted to the township offices in writing no later than 4 p.m. of the second Thursday of the month preceding the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting. This can be accomplished with a simple email. We hold the public to this requirement. We should do the same. It's just common courtesy and good business. Meetings would be more efficient when discussing past motions, minutes, etc., if the information was in front of us. Thank you in advance for helping us run professional and effective Planning Commission meetings. I'm DJ.
Thank you. Our building department, for the month of March, we issued a permit for a pole barn, 2 additions, miscellaneous, 9 electrical permits, 6 mechanical permits, and 2 plumbing permits, for a total of 20 permits. There were also 52 building inspections done. The other thing that's going on in the building department, Fire Marshal Canal is meeting with the building inspectors, building administrators, myself, and Chief Crotchy regarding the attached changes as to where the fire inspections need to fit into the beginning of the site plan review process through the end of the process. A fee schedule will also be reviewed. There's one in place, but it needs to be updated. There are drafts from Fire Marshal Canal, but these are the documents that will be reviewed. He will also have the same meeting with the village of Armada and their inspectors and building administrator. McCormack PDR, sorry, come in, Ken, there you go.
Good evening, board members. for the public, I'd like to read the letter that you have in your packet, so everybody kind of knows
Yeah,
what's
please,
going on.
absolutely.
Okay. This letter, which I sent out, was dated March 27th, 2022. Armada Township Board, dear board members, this letter is to inform you of the actions of the Macomb Agricultural Purchase of Development Rights Committee, which your township helped form. In March of 2021, the Macomb PDR Committee was awarded a grant of $259,481. This grant is to purchase development rights on approximately 112 acres in Richmond Township. We are close to finalizing the purchase with the State of Michigan Ag Preservation Fund Board. At the Macomb PDR Committee meeting on January 18th, 2022, the election officers are Kenneth D. Cook, myself, Chairman from Armada Township, Joe Jarzena, the Supervisor, Vice Chair from Ray Township, Vern Coleman, Secretary from Richmond Township, and Jonathan Yake, Treasurer from Richmond Township. At the March 10th, 2022 Michigan Agricultural Preservation Fund Board meeting held in Lansing, which I am on, Macomb received a grant of $342,000. This is towards purchasing development rights on approximately 78 acres in Richmond Township. The March 22nd, 2022 Macomb PDR Committee Treasurer's Report included in your packet shows a balance of $25,229.78. Out of this, $4,000 is to go towards purchasing development rights on 112 acres in Richmond Township, $3,000 for the appraisal fee on 78 acres in Richmond Township for this past year, 2022 that we received, and $4,000 is to go towards purchasing development rights on the 78 acres in Richmond Township for in 2023. I have included the 2022 Agricultural Preservation Fund Board scoring sheet for you to see what went on at the state level and where our application for the Richmond Township came in fourth on it, to show what we're competing against. I have also included a copy of your township pledge of $500 that was done in 2020. This pledge is towards the 112 acres in Richmond Township, which we are currently working on closing. We are close to finalizing the purchase and requesting that you send this check for $500 made out to Macomb Agricultural PDR Committee. Please mail the check and also your 250 member support for 2022 check to Richmond Township at 34900 School Section Road, Richmond, Michigan 48062. I included in your packet a copy of the pledge for your 2021 pledge of $500, which was done this past December and was going to be used hopefully in 2023 if everything goes all right, and closing in on that other parcel. Again, thank you for your support and for creating Macomb Agricultural Purchase of Development Rights Committee. Without this committee, your farm landowners would not have access to the Michigan grants that we receive. The other thing I'd like to inform you on, it just happened a few weeks ago. Richmond Township owned 80 acres farmland that had purchased many years ago when somebody wanted to put a landfill there. They donated the developmental rights years ago to this Michigan Ag Preservation Fund Board item for the Department of Ag, State of Michigan. They put it up for auction on April 2nd with the development rights gone from it. On the auction, just for the property, it garnered over $5,200 an acre. On top of that, the way they do auctions now, before at auctions, the auctioneer got his fee from the owner on it. They changed it now. You bid on the price for the product, and then they put a percentage on top of that to go to the auctioneer. This percentage was 10%. All said and done, it was $5 shy of 5,800 an acre. The reason I bring this up is, and I wish Georgie Boone Senior was here. People say, well, who's gonna buy that land if you sell the development rights? Somebody just did. This one was unique because the person who bought it was renting it from the township for the past 10 years or so, but it also butted up to their farm. But still took another party to bid it up that high
Yeah.
on that part. When we first did this, and this is many years ago, and we had our first parcel we purchased, the owner, who was selling development rights, had somebody wanting to buy his property after the deal was done for selling developmental rights, before the ink was done, to show there is a market, unique situations, but there's still people wanting just to have farmland. So I find that unique and encouraging, and still, an industry like this, still having a place here in Macomb County and in Armada Township. And I was contacted 3 weeks ago, somebody wanting to ask questions about this thing, and that person lives in Armada Township, the property. So maybe we might have somebody else coming. I don't know.
I was gonna say, Richmond Township's doing pretty good.
Well, yeah, we had an application again from Bruce Township. But like anything else, something new, something out of the ordinary, takes a while for people to see and realize how it works, get an understanding. And like I told this person that acquired from Armada Township, I go, I can guarantee you one thing. This committee, the PDR committee, is not gonna talk somebody into it. It's a big decision, but we're here because you, the townships, formed this committee to help explain things and help the person who wants to go through the process and hopefully get some grant money from the state of Michigan. So I'm open for any questions anybody has or explanations.
No,
Otherwise,
we're just glad people are selling their development rights.
well, it's the interest, but like I like to point out, somebody goes, well, who here wants to sell it or that? And I'm going, think outside the box. Yes, you got people retiring, getting older, but you'd like to encourage younger ones, younger farmers who's getting squeezed out somewhere else to possibly locate here in Armada. This is a financial way of doing things where somebody could go to a property owner like you, Jim, and say, hey, if I can get this grant, would you be willing to sell it to me, the property? We work out the negotiations, the price and that. And it's all contingent, you know, you put a holding fee or a down payment, you know, give me time to work this through. And if it comes through, we got a deal. It's a different way of financing the purchase, in my mind. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Selling your property?
No. I'd love to buy
Better
something,
than
no,
development
that's what I know.
Okay, we have Parks and Recreation.
No formal report for the month, I just want to give an update. The new lights are up for the flagpole, look great. The rope, the new rope and new flag are in. The new picnic tables, 10 new picnic tables in blue
That's on.
have been assembled and delivered to the park. And I talked to Lloyd Walker today about opening up the restroom to de-winterizing, hopefully in the next week or so. Just a
Now, you
quick
do
update.
know the wellhead's broken, the wires are exposed there, right?
Yep, I
Okay.
do know that.
All right,
Yep, I'll get it fixed up.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Exercise and Tai Chi every Wednesday and Thursday has us at a steady 8. Bingo twice a month, a hit, at least 20 attend. Mystery lunch was great. We went to the Ice Museum, Milk Museum in Port Huron. After we ate lunch at the Cracker Barrel, 33 attended. Soup and sandwiches had 10 attend. St. Patrick's Day potluck, we had 38, and some great Irish food. Local lunch took us to Papoose Restaurant in Richmond, 12 for lunch. Art class with Diane brings in about 8. A lot of new people from from our area are dropping in. They seem to be enjoying themselves. Can't wait for the warmer weather so we can get outside doing activities, walking, picnics, and some gardening and back. Thank you, and I love my job, Donna. Thank you, Miss Donna. On the water and sewer update, I think that the board needs to start considering running that water line down Powell Road. We, if by chance we lose the property, Chet's parcel 2 and 1 to annexation, that puts hindrance on us getting down Powell Road to 32 Mile Road to go east, if you will, to the corner. I don't know what is gonna happen at the county commissioners meeting per se, once we finally take up the final debate, but, the water was brought to the township for development, and, we need to make sure that that happens. So, I just need the board to put that in their head and think about it. Cause yeah, it's pretty important. It's important for the rest of our years, not just for a few years. So, Macomb Orchard Trail,
Before we skip topics,
Yep.
let's just elaborate on that and what exactly you're asking us to do and what the next steps are. I know we have a subcommittee to consider the water and sewer, and we, on that. Are we doing a study to see what the true cost is to run that water line east?
well, we already
How far
have,
east?
we pretty much already have a quote on what it would cost to run the water
Okay.
line the whole distance. Now, when Henshaw moved into the 33 Mile Road and Powell property,
Mm-hmm.
and found out that water and sewer wasn't available, he had to put in a septic field, but he also had to run the water pipe across the front of his property as per our engineering.
Right.
So he's paid for his own piece of the water pipe to go across the front of his property, paid the tap fees to Bruce Township to hook into the Detroit water. So he's done what a developer should do, brought the water to his facility at his cost. So now, if the village annexes into
Chet.
or Chet's property into it, there's a large development already started on the property. There was a stop work order issued by the Macomb County Soil and Erosion here, the day of the meeting, I think it was Thursday, that they called in. And from the conversations I've had with other supervisors and officials in Romeo Village, the real thing I think is going on is that it's gonna be a grow, and it's gonna be,
So Romeo went green. They
Yep.
approved cultivation.
they just approved a brand new one
Okay.
at 100 Schaefer Drive, so somebody just went in
Interesting.
there.
And I know and understand, okay. So what you would propose is to run that water line as far east as possible.
You mean south, actually, to 32?
South, correct, thank you.
South, yeah.
Yeah.
To have all customers in our zone pulling water, in our industrial zone.
Yeah, and I think that if they're gonna develop that property, they need to use the water we invested in.
The offshoot of that cost, though, is gonna be quite high, right? Because they would have to, so that's what we have to look into. And are you proposing that we offset those costs, or do we transfer that cost onto the business owners? Is there a happy medium?
Yeah, that's where you set up a special assessment just for the water.
Got it.
So the sewer is continuing to be a project in the process. The county board, water, or the Candace Miller at the Public Works is now involved with her team at Public Works to try to figure out a solution for the whole
Right.
north end. It's just not Armada. It's not Armada. It's Bruce Township It's Ray Township, it's
It's a
Washington.
District
Terminator.
33 issue, actually.
Yeah, it's a north end bottleneck,
Right.
if you will. So, we expect, early next month or at the end of this month, findings by Fishbeck, the county's engineer. The county had paid the engineer to take all of our informations. We turned over a complete water and sewer district in the whole township, as it was in the master plan. And told
Right.
them, you know, what the potential build-out was for, and everybody else did the same. So, the county's taking a look at, you know, there's three options. One is to build a new plant in Ray Township. Another one is to expand the facility in Richmond, or in Romeo Village, excuse me.
Right.
And the other option is to work with Washington Township on potentially expanding their facility. So, but at any point, the county is gonna have to be a player in this whole process. Because of course, their taxes are gonna go up exponentially as
Right.
opposed to ours, so.
Okay, and just one more question too, can the county commissioner, stop the annexation, or at least
No.
put a pause on it until
Nope.
their report comes in? Got it.
Well, these are two independent projects happening at the same time, so we did get the interest of Public Works, and they're
And the
very
chair
interested in
of the-
helping.
Right,
The Board of Commissioners Chair was working with Candace Miller's office also.
right.
So,
So I think what we gotta look into then, what is our loss versus what is our gain too, if we do it versus if we don't do it? And what's,
Almost more like protecting an investment. So, or, you know, this board needs to consider a green zone. You know, Paul Road's a dividing line, they've got them already.
well, we did approve medical for the green zone,
Right,
so,
I don't think these,
but this was at a caregiver, now this is medical and commercial grade, I think is maybe different, I'm not sure.
well, there's, you know, some of the facilities, I've seen a couple of them that are just, you know, they generate their own power. They do all kinds of stuff. You know, process it, grow it, sell it at some of these places. You know, the one I'm familiar with is Pincana, off
Right.
of the Pincani exit by I-75.
Okay, we'll motion to work with you between now and next month, at least, so this item doesn't sit cold for another month. I
Right.
think we gotta get out in front of this and at least understand what the financial issues are.
I think so as well. You know, it's almost an in or out thing, but,
Interesting.
you know, the good news is if you do run the water down Paul Road, we will have fire suppression water now for most of these buildings who run off of pumps. So,
Right.
but that's, again, something we'll have to approach the businesses with.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't see anything from the Plum Orchard Trail. I read the senior center treasurer's report.
Chris and I are meeting with the county treasurer's office next week for the settlement. We're expecting everything to go smoothly. We have all the other reports in front of you. Busy clearing up last fiscal year's files, reorganizing the office to be more efficient. The next tax season will soon be upon us. We both attended the County Treasurers Association meeting last month, and we did hear about a program offered through the Michigan State Housing Development Authority that assists homeowners with financial hardships. Due to the pandemic, I don't know how long this program goes, but there is a flyer on the back table if anyone is interested in and would qualify. I also have the phone number and everything in my office, so you can take a look at that if it pertains or if it could possibly pertain. Anything we can do to help people not get turned over to the county or anything like that. We want to make sure we keep everyone happy, and that's about it for the treasurer's report. Internet subcommittee, no meeting. Things are continuing to move. People are still getting hooked up to the internet, still getting emails on people that are having some issues and turning those over and getting feedback and passing on the information to the residents and stuff. So it's still a work in progress, but
What kind of issues are they having?
the last one I had contact with, she was apparently calling the 800 number for Comcast and was not getting anywhere, not being able to get hooked up. her neighbors on either side of her have it, but they're telling her she's not able to get it, so I mean, that's beyond my,
Right.
you know, so I made contact with the people at Comcast. They looked into it, said, they don't see anything in her file with her address since January. So apparently the calls that she's been making to the 800 number are not getting her anywhere, or not getting anything. So, Tima is going to, keep an eye on it and everything, and she got back with me, and I got back to the homeowner and let her know that, you know, we're on top of it, and so,
Okay,
I'll keep her informed.
thank you.
Mhm.
Cyber Subcommittee?
We had the opening for the bids on April 11th. Sarah and I opened those. We had about 13 RFPs sent. Jason's gonna do a spreadsheet for the township board to go over what everyone sent in.
Okay.
Because some of them followed the rules and some of them didn't, so,
Some of them didn't follow the rules?
didn't follow the rules.
Right.
I think that's
So,
typical of
yeah,
any bid
yeah.
process.
Mary flagged them.
Yeah,
They
we
got
read that.
penalized.
So, but probably by the next meeting, Jason, I think we'll have that done.
Now, who is, IT Right is joining forces with VC3?
VC3.
VC3.
VC3, or,
I am not. No.
yeah. Do we know who they are?
No.
Which is our current IT provider?
And on, just one more thing about the cybersec committee, on April 25th of this month, Mary and I will both be representing Armada Township at the MTA conference, annual conference. And we will just share our story, our discoveries, our RFP, and learning experiences.
That's exciting, that's great.
That is exciting,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to working with Mary
Pretty good.
and
You guys-
hearing her speech
Yeah.
on the podium.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to receive and file reports.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Residential solid waste collection, disposal, and recycling.
After we had some more discussion at the last meeting, I did kind of update the draft specs that we had prepared at those multiple workshops we had last year. That was more of a way of kind of recording where I think we're at with the discussion we've had. And I did send that over to our attorney. I spoke with Bob Siebert. He had some concerns. They're valid regarding if the village and the township are intending to, you know, review it and vote separately, it's quite possible you get a bid and have two different contractors, so is there value in bidding it together? Based on that, he did reach out to the village attorney, and Sarah and I, and both attorneys are intending to meet in the next couple weeks. Again, what we're doing is really just trying to see if there is a value to the township and the village to have a single residential waste hauler. And our intention, at least right now, the way I see it, is if we can come to an agreement on a bid documents, it would be to obtain costs with the intention and the requirement to have a public hearing and kind of get input from residents to see if there's support for it. And that would be obviously before we move forward on anything at the board level, so. But we're hoping to meet next couple weeks, and.
I think the 25th is the
Right.
last email I got from Bob.
Yeah, that's what we're anticipating, yeah, so.
Right. And the fire department prevention director, after speaking, the chief has brought this to our attention here a couple months back, several months back. And Fire Marshal Canal had a chance to address it. He did add this part, therefore, the Armada Township Fire Department, until further notice, or as addressed through local ordinances, is requiring the following for the installation of electrical systems and air conditioning upgrades to residential homes. And then there's a list of the stipulations there. And then he also included, after the second page where it explains how many tons you can have for how many square feet, for a single-family residential home over 2,000 square feet, 2 units may be considered depending on configuration of the home, AC zones, decibel levels, electrical panel stability, need, and proximity to other homes. So they can ask for it, but it has to meet certain requirements. Over 2,800 square feet. I'll make a motion to approve the fire prevention directive, request for electrical service and air conditioning upgrades presented through the chief by Fire Marshal Canal.
I'll second that. So how would this process work? Is it part of the site plan review that would be caught? Is the building department enforcing this?
Well, the building department already has a 200 amp restriction on homes.
Sure.
So, as far as the 2 air conditioners, it really, if they're not drawing too many amps, they can have 2 air conditioners. It's the tonnage, I think, that it refers to.
Yeah.
I know it says, permissible AC units, 1, but you could get a couple of 2-ton units for, 21 to 2,800 square feet. You could get a couple of 2-ton square units and cool one part of the house, and, there's a lot of people have, like, mother-in-law quarters and stuff like
Sure.
that, where other people, sometimes they're living there, sometimes they're not when they're staying with the family. So why, air condition the whole house? So,
if Kevin's gonna meet with the building inspectors and everything, why are we voting on this now? I mean, we need to hear their input.
well,
I mean,
That's kind
They're-
of my thought too.
they're not,
No, and
the
I-
fire department they're not electrical inspectors, mechanical
I
inspectors.
totally understand that, and Kevin understands that too. However, we haven't set up the meeting with the, building department yet. I know, I talked to Christine today, she had sent an email out, but Kevin hadn't received any correspondence, so she's gonna send him an email in the morning to tell her where she is in that process. So,
I support this because the mechanical, if I understand correctly, the mechanical inspectors, they're not able to determine what size AC unit is needed. If you
Well,
read the
that's what
building
they have their
code.
license for. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
between
they-
electrical and mechanical, there's a code that they have to follow. They know
Yeah,
exactly what
They
is
don't know,
required and what
because
they
there's
need.
2 books. If you read the building code, it references, I
Well,
forgot.
I'd rather hear that from them.
Manual
I
J
mean-
and Manual M, and they're both 300 pages, and if you read it, it makes no sense to me, and I doubt to them either. It's like
It probably
so
does to them
arbitrary,
because-
it's not straightforward at all. And it
Because they
requires
take classes and
There's a
everything.
$20,000 program that will size it for you. That's how expensive the software is. It's not a class, I'm telling you. So if you don't, and that's why they don't enforce it. If you ask them, they are going to acknowledge that whatever they want, they're gonna get, because there's no way to tell them that they're wrong currently. Have you guys, has anybody spoke with the mechanical inspector?
No, that's what
Yeah,
the
so-
fire marshal's gonna be doing.
and I'm okay with that, Mayor. I just don't, if Kevin was comfortable with it, I told him I'd bring it to the board. So,
Okay.
if it fails for lack of support, we can table it and wait for the meeting.
Yeah. Well, Jim seconded, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll just-
right, and then we had debate. Anybody else have any input on?
The rules that he wants to enforce, are this coming from the state-led fire marshal, or where's he getting his
Well,
input from? What
this-
framework is he pulling it from?
This came from, Macomb Township, Sterling Heights.
This is what they've adopted.
The firehouse in Sterling Heights?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
several
the fire
communities.
marshal from
Right.
Sterling Heights, okay.
Macomb Township,
And the-
Sterling Heights, there's others that's probably not identical, but very
And-
similar.
Right.
And the state fire marshal himself supports,
Oh, I think it's the state,
fire directives, but,
was
you
it the
know.
state mechanical inspector also who?
'Cause there is some confusion, I agree with Mary, that between a mechanical and HVAC, electrical, it sounds mechanical to me, I don't know.
It is mechanical inspector.
So, does the fire marshal
no,
have that type of certification?
no,
No, they
no,
don't.
not at all.
No, so
He
that's,
wants to work with the
His-
inspectors,
his,
because they're the ones that have the
his-
expertise, but
Here's the problem. Here's the real problem. The fire marshal isn't part of the inspection team when homes are going in or when commercial buildings are going up. He's not one of the inspectors. He needs to be one of the 4 inspectors. What they look at, they know what they're doing it, but Kevin needs to look at the fire safety part of what they're doing
Got
and
it.
have input on that. So that's what he's trying to sit everybody from the building department down and say, we need to be all in this together.
Okay.
And he's real big about the building inspectors. He wants them all on the same page. He wants them all to agree with how this is gonna work. There's no question about that. He was very much, supportive of that.
But-
Now, does he get a-
Unless everybody,
I thought our attorney said that we shouldn't do this. I mean, Christine Eames says the proposed amendment is unnecessary as the township fire code officially presently has authority to issue bulletins. It is also not capable of withstanding a challenge and purports to render a violation of any bulletin, rule, procedure, or regulation issued by fire code or official misdemeanor. I mean, in here, it looks like any plans for electrical, they have to submit to the fire department. I don't know. I mean, they've been doing their job for years. I just,
Sterling
it's
Heights
not appropriate.
attorney approved it.
Well,
That doesn't mean we
Township
have to.
attorney.
Still, it's more the, it's really more the sitting down and making sure that everybody is okay with it.
Because there's,
It's
Because
just a
there's no way
working
that-
together
There's no
type
way
of
that the
thing.
fire department wants to circumvent our our inspectors, that's just not the case.
I agree, and unless they're all in support of it, it's not gonna work, so I do
Right.
agree with that, yeah.
Murray?
Now, is this, it prolongs the permit process? Does it increase the permit fees? What is the
No.
Yeah,
bureaucracy
there's
going
always
on this?
an inspection fee for all of these things.
For sure.
So, the fire department, I think they do plan reviews, what, $150, something like that?
Mhm.
So,
All right, so voting in favor of this is voting
to approve.
to approve
Right,
The bulletin.
the bulletin as is or after
As
the
is.
fire marshal.
as is, and if you vote no, it would fail for lack of support, the motion would die, and then we'd, go through the process of.
Because we're still moving forward with the process no matter what, with the fire marshal working with the inspectors. So when I talk to him, I mean, it's just he wants to make sure everyone's on the same page, but
Yep.
he has a different point of view that, he wants to share with the inspectors what he's looking for and why he's looking in that direction.
He needs to see things. He's
So-
seeing
But that's for
things.
like the site plans, the fire department always approves, well, Christina always gives them to Kevin to look at the fire side of it. Kevin's not gonna look at the electrical.
Right.
This isn't truly looking at the electrical, it's looking at some specific concerns related to safety.
I understand that,
I mean,
but
they
that's
are
why we
electrical
have an
related, it's
electrical
not the
inspector.
entire electrical plan.
And is there a shared voice in the ultimate decision, whether that inspection gets passed or
Well,
not? Are
that
we
was
adding
some of,
more
that was
of
some of our attorney's concern, was that
Mhm.
if you have something like this and the fire department wants to do an enforcement, they would have to become a body that would issue a misdemeanor to somebody, and the board really handles all of the misdemeanors through court and whatnot, so
Right.
do you want the fire department in a situation where you're, if you will, put in a position to say to somebody, you've done that wrong, which makes it a misdemeanor per se.
If this is approved, can it be incorporated into the permitting process from the beginning? So let's use the AC. Could it be part of, if you want a mechanical permit, our fire bulletin says you can't have more than this, and you're showing you gotta revise it if you want an
But the
approved permit?
mechanical inspector knows that.
Right.
Yeah.
He'll know this, yeah.
I don't think
No.
we're trying to, I'm trying to find out what the problem is that we're trying to fix.
Well, the fact that Kevin usually gets in for fire inspections after the footings are in, after the walls are up and the drywall's on.
Has that been a problem in the past? Can we look at
Yes.
something to
Yep.
say, this is a fire hazard because I was not here?
That's what they're attempting to resolve with
And we
this.
just went through.
With Old
the-
Farm
and
Trail.
we just went
No,
through with,
not specific Old Farm Trail, but all property.
and it's not just in the township, it happened in the village. They approved the building to go on the back of a restaurant in town. And in the process of doing that, they encapsulated the electrical panels on the building next door,
That's
making
the
it,
village, not us though.
making it a fire hazard.
But that's the village, not us.
It's
But
still,
the
it's
main-
just
but
an
the-
Village, but
example.
our fire department works the same for
I was
both
gonna
of them.
say, it's,
Well, I understand it, but.
it's not just you're building a house and you're doing this and that and the inspectors approve,
Mhm.
whatever. But it's also a matter of the fire department needs to know different things because something happens in that house. That fire department needs to know what's going on, where things are, because they've got a crew that, they have to put the fire out, but they also have to not get killed in the process.
Okay.
I would be more comfortable waiting until all these meetings with the inspectors have taken place and they've all.
I mean, have the
um,
inspector seen the bulletin?
What's that?
Have the inspector seen that bulletin?
No, he's trying to get in front of them now.
Okay, well then,
Okay.
it makes no sense to,
So,
Go
yeah,
for
I
it.
would prefer to table it
myself.
until all the meetings have taken place with all the inspectors and
Well, we have.
We have a motion, so I'll,
John made the motion to approve it.
To-
We'll take the vote and then.
right,
Alright.
okay, so I'm a no.
Okay, no. Swayaki, no. Hedrick,
No?
Getzinger,
Yes.
Grimby.
No.
Okay. So we'll let Kevin get his meeting together with the inspectors. ARPA funds for dispatch, please.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today with Angela Elsie, who's the Director of Contact Dispatch Services. First of all, we appreciate the opportunity to have these funds available for discussion. This goes back to about 2013. Armada Township Fire Department has been trying to get a full-service dispatch. Currently, the way our system works is the 911 calls go through Comtech. They field the calls and they dispatch us. That is a push notification on the application on our phone, and further, we get tones over VHF frequency on pagers. After that, we then go to being self-dispatched. So it's our obligation to find people to sit and dispatch while the call's going on. Some of the problems with is the people who are probably best suited to do that are also the ones best suited to be on scene. So the people we end up leaving behind to run dispatch are some of our junior people who don't have the resources, don't have the knowledge or the experience to do it. So it does put us at, it's a bit of a challenge for operation. Also, what's difficult is we currently do not have any station notification system. So when we get a 911 call, we're relying on that pager, the VHF system, to get that call. That poses a problem. There's nothing in the station that alerts us for that. Going forward, we would truly like to be part of a full-service communication ability. That comes with a station alerting system, an application on a phone that gives us updated information. When we're on scene and we look for resources, we have professional dispatchers on the other end that are constantly monitoring us, have ability to search, like DTE and gas company and all of that, with the ability that we currently don't have. It definitely will provide not only safer for our firefighters, but will make us much more efficient on scene for the job that we do. I am not an expert at dispatching, nor would I even claim to be, so that's why we brought Mrs. Elsie today, and she's going to speak what Comtech is and what it provides.
Hi, good evening.
Hey.
Thank you, Chief. So Comtech is the building that we reside in, and we are employed with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. We are a staff of 61 individuals, between a little over 54 emergency dispatchers and then a supervisory staff as well. So with that, we field about 480,000 calls in a year, and we are the primary dispatch center for Macomb County Sheriff's Office, Sterling Heights Police Department, Clinton Township Police Department, and 5 full-time fire departments that we dispatch for, as well as other volunteer agencies. So we are really looking forward to this opportunity, not only for the progressive opportunities that Armada Township Fire Department has, but for our dispatchers as well. We have a great relationship with Armada Township Fire Department. This would increase their ability to have updated information in real time. So right now, as Chief explained, when we receive a 911 call and it requires an emergency response in Armada Township, we are keeping on the phone with that patient or caller and providing that initial information to the fire department. However, if they are to come on board full-time with us, they'll have direct connectivity, meaning that they will have tablets in their vehicles, they will have immediate connectivity to us, so they would see all of the updated information on their tablets, as well as verbalizing it from my staff. So there would be no miscommunication, no delay of information. There are many, many times where we receive calls that a patient's having trouble breathing, and maybe that person stops breathing. We don't want a delay in them knowing that. They would not only see that and be notified with an alert on their phone, on their tablet, in their vehicle, in their station as well. The software automates that information for them immediately, but we'd also be verbalizing it. And we wouldn't be just relaying it to someone inside their station. They would all hear it, all of them responding. They would have the ability to have routing instructions as well. So from the very moment our dispatchers enter that address or location, wherever the patient is, their software starts routing them to it in the most efficient, quickest route. So they would have, likely quicker response times. In addition to that, Armada Township has a lot of automatic aid and mutual aid with surrounding communities. They not only respond to help other communities, but other communities come in to assist them. We are connected to your surrounding communities. We full-time dispatch service for Washington. That response is automatic in our center. So at the very moment we receive a call in Armada Township that requires Washington to assist them, or vice versa, in Washington for Armada to assist them, we can dispatch those agencies at the same time. They're getting the same information, they're getting the same updates, and there's no delay. Our staff is also emergency medical dispatch certified and emergency fire service dispatch certified. That is not a state certification requirement, but it is a standard that we set and require our staff to maintain. And they continuously recertify every 2 years, and we are in 100% compliance with that, meaning that unlike some other dispatch centers, we provide emergency pre-arrival instructions over the phone. Any one of our staff members can assist with how to deliver a baby, the Heimlich maneuver on an infant, child, or adult, CPR instructions for all those age ranges as well, how to properly apply a tourniquet, how to administer Narcan, everything that will help them prior to arriving on scene. So this is not new to us, fire service dispatch. We have dedicated fire dispatchers in our center as well, that is their primary job for the day. I have to have a minimum of 12 people on duty. 3 of them are solely dedicated to fire. So they're not answering 911 calls, they're not managing police department runs. That is their responsibility. So we continuously train, we continuously make sure that all of the updates and responses are communicated to the entire staff. Also with Armada Township, if they were to come on board with your approval and support, we would be managing their resources. So like Chief explained right now, when we verbalize that run information over the radio, it's someone in his station deciding, okay, we're gonna take the Alpha and the engine to this. We eliminate that decision because we work with the chief and his staff to identify, here's the types of runs that you have, right? Here's the types of EMS runs, here's the types of fire runs. What is the response that you send to these? That's programmed in. So from the very moment that the dispatcher has the address and the chief complaint, we would say, right? It's a house fire, it's a CPR, whatever it may be, our computer tells us exactly who to send, that we're sending Armada Alpha 1 and Engine 1. And then that software is notifying them in the station. It's alerting them, waking them up, stopping them from whatever they're doing, and it's telling them Armada Alpha 1 and Engine 1. So they don't even have to stop and think and look at their responses. They're going right to those rigs. So we've eliminated time there. We have the ability to upgrade those as well. So if they're approaching the scene and they see that maybe the house that we sent them to for a house fire is fully engulfed, they can call for aid, and we can get that response going immediately because we dispatch for those surrounding communities as well. So there's a lot of interoperability opportunities for them to come on board.
Thanks. That was one of my main questions, was if it would have any impact on response times.
Yeah.
So that was like the first one that popped in my head.
They'll also have the ability to input what we call alerts or flags. So I've heard a lot of conversation about grow opportunities and different industrial organizations like that are concerning to fire department operations. We can put what we call a flag. It's just a note on that address. They can see it, and we can see it, and we can share that and verbalize that to say, hey, just be careful because we know that this is maybe a industrial grow, right? So there's a different hazard that's posed to them or the surrounding homes or businesses. Mm-hmm. Maybe we know it's a hoarder home. That poses a significant safety for the fire officers that are responding to that scene. So the chief and his staff can maintain those and update those. We can do that for them, but we both see them, and that information is shared. Plus the agencies that are responding to help him are seeing that too. So that's very important. They can also see the police department flags. So if there's a house that we know, maybe there's been some violence or known weapons in that home or ammunition, they need to know that too, right? So all of that information is available and shared.
Okay.
On this proposal, the annual cost for the first year is $112,278.83.
Is that an example?
What's that? That's our
I put it together.
our first year. It says it does not include the potential costs associated with BRYX,
Bricks.
right?
The chief can speak better to what bricks is.
Bricks is actually, it's actually streetwise, so currently we have a third party we use. We pay for that. The idea is because what Contact is a little bit more expensive, some of our paid-on-call individuals and part-timers, we're gonna continue using streetwise for those because it is much cheaper. I think we pay about $1,600 a year for everybody. That would be just a fraction of it, but that doesn't include us to maintain that streetwise license for those, you know, few people that'll have it.
And what's Clemis? CLEMIS?
Is Columbus in here? We don't use Columbus.
Well, it said install at your station, assuming the requirements for Clemis, that we have a requirement for Clemis at our station. I don't know what that is.
Well, I don't have Columbus in my proposal.
Well, that was through Kevin.
So is it Bricks or Clements, maybe? Is that the service?
That was through the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we do not use Clemis. Clemis is a public safety vendor out of Oakland County.
Okay.
Yeah, Macomb County does not utilize any Clemis software.
Yeah, the one you're reading is from the Tony Lee.
Yeah,
from-
that's what
just-
I'm
Yeah.
confused too.
Yeah.
Just ignore this one?
So there was two bids we got, and there were two that were able to carry us. One is through Sarisa, which is Southeast Macomb Emergency. They gave us one bid. That bid was, it was gonna be $112,000 a year. That was the one
Yeah.
from Clemens.
Okay.
That was just a yearly fee. That did not include any infrastructure they brought in, any of the station alerting system. They use a third party for that, so there'd be another $20,000 to $30,000. So Sarisa uses Clemens. We are not looking to go to that system. I just wanted to show you that there's two options.
So what you're looking for, Chief, is $113,651.66
Correct. So
to
the
start
one
on,
from
right?
Sarisa is only for information, that there was another option out
Okay.
there that we did
Okay.
research and it was more.
Gotcha. Okay.
The one we're looking to go through is through Comtech. And the biggest reason is service. It's the best service out there, and the fact that all of our surrounding communities use the same, and it gives us ability for interoperability.
Is Bruce on?
Bruce has sort of a full-time dispatcher.
Yeah.
She's an executive assistant and dispatcher, and she even dispatches from home.
Okay.
The other thing I think it's really important to note is so when you look at the prices, it was $113,000 for the startup. That includes the station alerting system that's gonna come in. It includes the software, the hardware, all the wiring that you do within the station. And from that point forward, next year would be $60,581. I really wanna point out that we worked with Angela and we worked with the county sheriff to get that price down to that. It was considerably higher. I wanna thank Sheriff Wickersham and Angela for working to get that price down to a point that we can afford it.
So we're still gonna be in our annual fees between $61,000 and $62,000 a year.
That's
Probably go up every year,
Oh, yeah.
And you're requesting us to use the American Rescue Plan Act funds,
Yes,
correct?
for the first year.
for the first year. And the second year will be within the budget.
Budget item.
So obviously, your budget can handle the annual cost based on your current revenues.
Yes.
Of the 61,000 plus. And then we already discussed response times. I appreciate you coming out, because actually it's very helpful compared to reading it. It does sound like it's significantly better than what we have right now. It's, if I understood correctly, you basically make the call and you either have a middleman at your station relaying, or you're just going in blind, whereas you're in continuous communication throughout, is what it sounds like.
And one of the big things I keep saying is the station situation. So currently, the pager goes off, every guy 24/7 has to carry around a pager and a radio. They have to sleep with the radio next to their head, because there is no station alerting system. That in itself is a huge thing, because first of all, pagers cost about $800 a year, and they don't last. The batteries don't last. We put a lot of money into those. Secondly, the radios we carry around, it's a $6,500 radio. The speaker mic alone that we talk into is $500. We've replaced about 5 of those in the last couple of years. So there's not a tremendous savings I can tell you it's gonna be, but there is some wear and tear and just a better service that we're gonna get.
So when you talk about the pagers and stuff, if somebody is off duty, is there a change to that, or you're just talking when they're at the station?
Yes, you can, so on the applications, you can put off duty if you want. And that just doesn't make it go off.
Application
It won't
meaning
be an
on
option,
your,
but yes.
phone, you mean?
Yeah, so if I'm on vacation and I wanna get myself off duty, I can
Okay.
get myself off duty.
Chief too, if I could. So in addition to with the software that is in this proposal that they're looking at purchasing, which is the same software that would be on the tablet in their rigs, Chief and all his administrative staff and battalion chief and everyone else would have that same software on their phone. So he's on vacation and he gets a call, hey chief, there's a third alarm fire. He can log in and see everything that dispatch is doing, everything his crew is doing, who's on scene, what time they got there, who's en route. He has all that information at his fingertips. And to expand on your question a little bit as well with the notifications, part of this proposal too includes a mass notification system. So where Chief is likely in some of them already with tech rescue or hazmat, he will now have the ability to say, anytime we have this type of incident, a working fire, this is who I want automatically notified. And that sends a call, a text, and a page. If he needs the hazmat team, we do that. If he needs the technical rescue team because they have any type of, we don't really have any high angle rescues around here, but trench rescues, anything
Well,
like that, right? Tornadoes.
We had the technical teams up during the tornado, they went house to house for us.
Yes,
We had 3 of
so
them.
we manage all of that, and that's also integrated with our dispatch software, so it's quick and it's efficient, and those notifications aren't delayed.
I'll make
Yeah,
a,
Angela, thank you
I'll make
for
a
coming out and
I can
explaining.
what's
You know, in the voice of safety, right, all of your bullet points, absolutely better than what we currently have. And it's a gift to do to our, to give to our residents, because communication is good. However, I am representing the residents of our township, so I have to ask these questions because the costs are big. The software that we're using, is it Comtech, or that's the name of the building?
That's the shared building that we have.
So some of some of my concern is who owns that data? Transparency and visibility and communication is good. All that information is getting documented somewhere. Where's that data going at the end of the day? You mentioned flagging, which I find that very interesting. Grow houses, hoarding, gun ownership, giving the chief the ability to flag personal and private property and having that type of visibility. Who has that awareness? Does our residents have access to that data through Freedom of Information Act? Some of the questions that I'm just coming around. And also, you mentioned response time, and I think the chief is doing phenomenal here. I see our response time, and I'm very proud of what we're doing. Are we spending $100,000 and 60 grand every year? To go from 0 to 60, it's worth the spend. But if are we going from 60 to 70 and we got to spend $60,000 to get there, what? I know guarantees are a bad word, but what can we expect after this investment? Are we going to go down 20% response time? And I don't know, so forgive me, and I hope I never choke to death, and I need help real quick. But I got to ask these questions. Are we talking minutes? Because we're already at 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. Every month we look at the response times, and they're phenomenal. So are we fixing a problem? And you clearly, your bullet point said yes. And I know what the problems are with the current system, but it's coming at a cost. So I just got to know, so my concerns are, the response time, how efficient, and also the privacy, that data. What are we doing to our residents, and what situation are we putting them in?
So to start with the privacy and the data. So our software is public safety software. That is not public facing. It's on our Macomb County network. That is criminal justice information system compliant. We go through many compliance reviews to make sure that network is extremely secure. We have a information technology security and safety team and dedicated security officer who make sure the security of all of our Macomb County systems that are not public facing are secure. So there is no opportunity for someone to see something they should not. Also, we would have specific agreements with the fire department that we're required to have under the Criminal Justice Information System rules about sharing that information. Now, residents can always place a Freedom of Information Act request and FOIA certain run information. We have to redact certain information from those reports or those calls. So depending on the relationship from the requester and the parties involved in that incident, some of that flag information or caller information, location might have to be redacted prior to handing it over to them. Otherwise, all of that data for them is transferred into their records management system. They use emergency reporting. So there will be an interface on our secured fiber through our network that our Macomb County IT team will set up with the software vendor, Tyler Technologies, who's a national vendor. And then all of that data will automatically transfer to their report system, so they're not coming back from their runs and free typing all of that in, again, saving them time. So their response times, all of that, they have to report to the state. So all of that is also secure. You would be able to speak better to the security of the data and the emergency reporting and where that goes, but incredibly secure. But residents and citizens still always have the option to submit a FOIA request for specific information that they may be interested in.
And could they have their home removed from the flagging option?
So most residents may not know if they have one or not, right? Because it stems usually from an incident that we have. So we typically don't have someone call and say, can you put a note on my address? If they do, it's usually because maybe they're going out of town for a couple weeks and they want us to, be aware that their home's unoccupied or no one should be in the driveway, something like that. But most people wouldn't realize that because it would be the fire department saying, hey, you need to know that there's 17 pets in this house, right? Or because it's a safety to us. So there's safety reasons for the responders, both police, fire, and EMS, most likely. And then to speak to the response times, I don't have specific data or criteria for you. We're very pro Armada Township Fire Department. They do a wonderful job. But I can tell you from our side, we are quicker at turning out that information with this integration with the fire departments that we have because we have that interconnectivity to them. So once we get the address in and we have the type of call, we code it, it's a medical call or whatever it may be, it tells us exactly who we're sending and there's no delay there. So we are automatically telling them, you have a run, this is who's going. We're not spending time alerting them over the VHF radio, which is a multi-step process, verbalizing that, waiting for his officer in the station to capture that information and then make a decision. So we've eliminated 30 to 45 seconds right away. Also, our station alerting software, the visibility piece on our end, starts a 2-minute timer from the very second it starts alerting their station. So our dispatchers know if we don't get a response from them in 2 minutes, they didn't get it, or they didn't hear it, or acknowledge it. So we're going to do it again. So it takes that guess game out of it too, because we don't have any current connectivity other than radio communication right now. So, if it's 1 minute and 30 seconds and maybe his fire officer stepped away for a second, he had to use the restroom or go grab a drink, we're not sitting there going, did they hear that? Did they get that? So we're eliminating any of that confusion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And the other thing as well, quite honestly, if we didn't have the ARP funds to
Get it started.
do the initial
Right.
setup first year, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. So,
Right, because we did our budget, and back then, we didn't know the ARP funds were existing, and this was, the sirens were questionable, this wasn't even a question.
one of the items, right?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure of $113,651.66 in American Rescue Plan Act funds for the Macomb County Sheriff Comtech to take over Armada Township Fire Department's dispatching services. This will provide more efficiency and effectiveness and safety to the community and fire department staff as a whole.
Support.
Who wants
Go
it? Who wants
Take
it?
a pick.
Murray.
Yes.
Swack, yes. Getzinger.
Yes.
Granby.
Yes.
Peter.
Thank you for having us. Okay, the next one is the ARPA funds for a warning sirens. We have enough money in our ARPA funds to completely outfit the township with warning sirens, tornado, hazardous conditions, storms, etc., which are all taken care of by the county dispatch. So, I'd like to make a motion to utilize the ARPA funds for the,
Yeah, put your amount, you have to put, I think you should be really specific about this, because if ARPA asks us for paperwork, don't forget to put the amount in there and who it's from, and
Do you have, does the clerk have a motion?
I do.
Would you
Yeah,
mind
more.
if she reads them?
sure, go ahead.
All right, motion to approve expenditure of $290,400 in American Rescue Plan Act funds from West Shore Services Incorporated for the purpose of 12 new community warning sirens for the health, welfare, and safety of the community. West Shore Services is the only authorized reseller of federal signal outdoor warnings products from municipal, public safety, and campus alert in the state of Michigan.
Support.
So, yes?
We should have some discussion,
Yeah,
so
yeah, we're
remind
gonna
me, there's
definitely.
currently 4 in the township?
So there's one located on the border at Boardman and North Avenue, so
Three-
call that
three and a half,
a
really.
half.
Yeah.
There's one at Romeo Plaken Center, there's one in front of Blake's Big Apple on North Avenue, and then there's one behind the fire station. But it's important to note the one at the fire station, that's about a quarter the size of the rest of them. So
Yeah.
three, I mean, three and a half, but that one's actually a half. There's areas of the village that actually doesn't reach that size.
And following the tornado, you'd received a proposal for, I think it was following the tornado, to totally outfit the township at the time. We didn't initially know these funds were available, but this was just for a reference on what it would cost, is that correct? And
There was a proposal for, I believe, 4 more sirens originally, and West Shore did a layout of the strategic locations for the whole
Yeah.
township. So,
picking the 4 most important, but identifying where they ultimately should all go,
right,
correct?
so we were gonna increase it by 4 per se, and then maybe do some at another date, but because the ARPA funds are available, you know, it's a shame that, you know, we have to kind of react to a tragedy in our town, but
I agree.
I have to ask this question, and I mentioned it to the chief. Is this old technology with today's cell phones and warning systems and things like that? Chief made a good point when you say, well, this might have a lot to do with the farmers working out in the field and people baling hay and straw and things like that, working in the barn. You know, these guys are climbing around fixing tractors and stuff like that. I know I call some of these guys to see how the tractor's doing, and I don't get an answer because they don't have their phone with them. So, there's definitely a bonus to have any kind of a warning system, so. But I, you know, that was my thought was, is this old technology with today's,
You know, Jason and I talked about that, and then I asked Chief about it
I
today.
can speak to it a little bit. I understand I'm not the expert on this, but in discussions with the gentleman from West Shore and with some of the board members, sometimes old technology is the best technology. We have some of the most fancy tools in the world, but I always have a hammer in my toolbox, because sometimes you need that. Sometimes technology is gonna fail. Sometimes you get something like a tornado that comes through, it's gonna knock out cell phone towers. Sometimes new technology is less, you know, dependable. This is old technology. New communities that are being built are still using
Okay,
this.
that was my question. That's what most communities are still, or maybe all communities are using this technology?
Yes, and yeah.
and specifically from West Shore?
Well, because they're the
The only
There's
supplier.
representative, if you
Yeah.
will, the
Yeah,
supplier
and
for this.
he's very busy. He flies all over the United States to put these in.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a good idea. I just started thinking, well, you know, wasn't sure about whether we were entering the older technology at a pretty significant cost. Our maintenance fees on these are,
Staggering.
I actually couldn't find that on this one here. What's the annual
They're
cost? to
$425.
maintain? How much?
$425
A year, right, yeah.
But the first year, you won't pay that.
each, right? Each
And then
side.
times,
Each
we
side.
we already paid
So
for
7,500, I think.
three and
something
a
like
half,
that.
yeah.
And then the electric bill is probably about, well, now it probably went up to about $40. Before it
Yeah,
was
the
about
electric bill's
35.
not
Yeah.
bad, but, yeah. Well, okay, that was the, I just wanted to include that in the conversation, as to what your thoughts were on the technology, so.
Yeah, we're heavily connected with technology now, through Twitter, Facebook, we have internet now,
Internet's a big thing here now.
but,
People are
If
happy.
people
Yeah.
if people could turn that notification off on their phone too, so.
Yeah,
they
that's
don't
true.
even turn it
Yeah.
off, so I think the whole technology works.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, if it wasn't for ARPA too, right? So,
Yeah, would
Right.
we-
I mean, we're really fortunate to have this opportunity, otherwise it
Well,
would be a difficult
yeah.
conversation again,
The
because
tornado in June, I mean,
how do you
nobody
put a
heard.
price tag on
Or very-
safety?
Not very many people
Well, I
heard
know over the
sirens.
last 5 or 6 years, I do get phone calls on a regular basis that sirens aren't working. I turn those over to the chief, and that I didn't hear the siren even on a sunny Saturday afternoon when they test them at 1 o'clock.
Right.
I can't hear. And some people are moving in from areas that are more accustomed to having a lot of tornadoes. They're calling them weather refugees. You know, some people are done with the droughts and the storms and the floods and so anything from Detroit to Duluth, Minnesota seems to be a hot spot for a new place to live. So,
But I know, like, there's that NOAA app, I know I have it, that I get alerts on, you know, different things. And I didn't know how outdated, it's probably outdated
Any other
technology too, 'cause
questions?
No, I
I,
think it's a great gift to the township, especially the use of ARPA funds is very
Mhm.
appropriate.
I agree.
run it, Mayor.
Swack, yes, Murray?
Yes.
Grimby?
Yes.
Getzinger?
Yes,
Eric?
Yep. Okay, tell them thanks for holding the price. Fire Department approval for auto pay
Yeah.
for Hartford.
Yep, the full-time firefighters have a disability insurance that the township pays now according to the collective bargaining agreement. And for purposes of, that the mail is so slow, and I don't want anything to happen to the insurance, I would like to make a motion to allow the clerk to sign up for auto pay with Hartford for this disability insurance for full-time firefighters.
Support.
And can you include the cost in that?
$132.84 a month.
$132.84.
Yes, I put that in there. All right. Getzinger?
yes,
Grimby?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Peter?
Yep.
Murray?
Yes.
Thank you.
Park tornado cleanup bids. We got 3 bids from CBX, Cross Brothers, Dahlias, and Dean Reinhardt.
did we get a copy of that one? I don't recall seeing that one.
You got-
The
you got-
last one came today, I put it on everybody's desk. It
Yeah,
was,
the Dean Reinhardt quoted $10,465, and Dahlia's quoted $9,500, and Carl Cross from CBX quoted $6,500. Now, also, Cross Excavating, they're the ones that actually cleaned that whole section out of there when it was all tag holler and graded the ground and stuff like that. They built a new baseball diamond, and they annually scrape the parking lot at the township park as well. So they're very involved in the park, but he does have a very competitive bid. I did include some pictures. I don't know if you guys got the pictures. I didn't want to whack all my ink, but
no, we got no pictures.
some of the stuff, like that one big stump, it's gonna take a heavy-duty excavator to get it out of there. So they're gonna wait until the ground dries up somewhat
Think that'll
significantly, so they don't tear
It's
the
really wet.
place up doing that. But ultimately, what's gonna happen is all of the trees, even if they're coming this way from the other side of the river, will be cut off at the, I wanna say, the east side of the river and brought over. So there won't be any trees. We have several trees that are housing widowmakers right now, basically broken limbs hanging in the branches. branches kind of a thing. That'll all be rectified. There are a few dead trees. I think you might have went over them with Dean. So we have maybe 5 or 6 trees that are standing dead, ashes and stuff like that, that, you know, all at the same time will need to come out of there, so.
When did they inspect the park? You have dates from those, folks? Were they out there recently, the last few months?
Well, yeah, they were actually out there, Carl was out there last week, and,
It looks like
Dean
Dahlia's
was
is
out
from
there
August.
yesterday and
Yeah.
today. Well, you talked to Dean yesterday, right?
No,
Oh, you didn't meet with Dean?
no.
Okay, all right, then it was Jerry he went there with, but he was there today with me at the park, just to make sure. He actually marked the trees with, the pink spray can, which trees we talked about doing, so.
Do we have funds from the state for that?
No,
I thought the state was giving us cleanup funds.
We're past that.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
that was all during the emergency disaster relief.
It wasn't part of cleanup?
No,
That's it from out of the park fund.
yeah, it's gonna have to be fixed. I mean, it's gotta be taken out of there, so we're gonna clean it up. Unless the board wants to do something different. Yep. So I would make a motion to, allow Carl Cross, to do storm damage cleanup at the park, all debris removed from the river, all overhead hanging branches removed, all brush burned on site, remaining ashes removed, all logs and large stumps removed, all small stumps ground flush, all stump holes filled with dirt and topsoil, grass seed spread on the disrupted areas.
How much is that quote again?
6,500.
I'll support that.
Granby?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Murray?
Yes.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Better.
Yep. Get that thing back in shape. Okay. Certified resolution of the membership for Board of Directors authorizing application for special licenses, the Armada Lions Club, Saturdays on August 27th through the 28th.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for special license application as presented.
Support.
Go ahead.
Murray?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Granby?
Yes.
Better.
Yep. (2022) Planning Commission meeting dates. Apparently we didn't vote on them, so I'll start it again. We're already into May, so I'll start our open meetings resolution for the Planning Commission on May 4th, 2022 at 7 p.m., June 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m., July 6th, 2022 at 7 p.m., August 3rd, 2022 at 7 p.m., September 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m., October 5th, 2022 at 7 p.m., November 2nd, 2022 at 7 p.m., and December 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Oh,
All the first Wednesdays of the month.
I'll support.
all right. Swack, yes. Murray?
Yes.
Granby?
Yes.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Better.
Please, yep.
Thank you.
Okay, and now that the vote's been taken,
Yes.
the planning commission did also vote on this, last week at our meeting. Questions arose as to why, blah, blah, whatever, but it's the same date that it has been forever, so.
It's always the first Wednesday.
Right,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
it, yeah, we're all
No-
good.
No change.
Park funding approval for lighting.
Well, I was coming up to ask for the $80,000 for the park lights, but I think that number may have changed because of the,
Well, that other,
Well, that's a separate line
that's
item.
probably
That's separate
yeah, a
Separate line
maintenance
item.
item, not the capital project.
Yeah,
item.
that's a separate line item.
okay. Well, I'm up here to request the $80,000 funding for the East Township lighting.
have a motion that we can discuss.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the funding in the amount of $80,000 from budgeted park expense line item 101-756-821-000, park improvements for the North Avenue. In order to move forward with the ball field lighting project, contingent upon planning commission site plan review approval, engineering review, pulling of all necessary building permits. All contractors shall provide a W-9 certificate of workers' compensation and liability insurance, adding the Township of Armada as additionally insured prior to the start of the project.
I'll second that. So are you essentially just asking today for a general approval from the board that they're,
Behind the project.
support the project and willing to contribute $80,000 if all the approvals are?
Yes, to move forward.
Okay, this project is running a little backwards. The township is responsible for the activities in the park and for any construction, so we have policies in place, again, that require it to be set out for 3 bids. We're
Okay.
talking over $100,000 project. We're also, I think the biggest thing is, no matter who gets the project, they need to write a contract with the township as to where we're gonna go. Some of the things that I saw in the proposal was, well, we may, or if we have to, or change orders getting approved by the park director, are all things that we need to know before we authorize, I think responsibly authorize the expenditure of those funds. It's our attorney's opinion, again, that it needs to go to engineering. We need to take whatever those plans are and go to engineering, and they need to approve the poles, the lights, all that kind of stuff. They need to know that it's gonna work. There was a mention somewhere in there about, well, we might need rebar, we might not need rebar. I'm gonna count on our engineers to tell us whether we're gonna need rebar on the basis of these poles or not. So, I think that this should be turned over to our engineers. This package should be turned over to our engineers for their opinion, to bring it back to us. And then bids should be taken from the contractors as to get the project done, so there isn't any gray area.
And actually, our engineers won't review this. They're gonna subcontract this out to RS Engineering. Taylor wasn't there today, but I wanted a little bit more information. So that's what I found out there. But, if it goes to planning, planning sends it to engineering, engineering gives their review, go from there. If there's issues, then they outline all of those issues. It's just like any other planning project that we've had. If
So-
something's missing, I think they would have to,
I understand, except the township has to write the check.
oh, I understand. Well, that's why they have to go to plan it, and that's why I put the contingency on there. It's,
So it's for, just to clarify, on our purchasing ordinance, there are exceptions. One being if the township can obtain an advantage or benefit not otherwise obtainable if competitive bidding procedures were followed. And certainly in my opinion, if we're able to utilize donated labor, that to me meets that criteria. I do agree 100% that our engineers need to review this, and that's why I asked the question. To me, tonight, we're not authorizing the expenditure of any money because there is a proper procedure, very similar to if it were put out to bids, kind of like you're saying, but in this case, it would be, the way I foresee this going is, the information is provided from ABA as far as what they're proposing, what they would like to build, not that we're necessarily approving, but what they would like to build with all the required information, 1, to planning, 2, to our engineers or whoever we would so choose to review it, do an engineering review. And then if those approvals are completed, then it would come back to the board, in my opinion, this is my understanding, where we would formally approve the project and potentially authorize an expense. My assumption is that, it is a township project, but even that being the case, ABA doesn't have the funds to front the project, so they're most likely going to be needing to come to the board once the approvals are met to request the township to purchase materials. That's just my assumption, because it's a little early.
The contractor, no matter who it is, Chad or
Yeah.
anybody else, needs to submit a contract to the township outlining exactly the costs, the time it's supposed to be done in. Your surety bonds, which is a statutory responsibility, maintenance bonds and security bonds on the project. It's over $50,000. I know we didn't do that on the playground equipment, but we're
Or the
supposed
skate
to.
park.
Well, and that would be, the engineers would tell us like,
Yeah,
this
the
is
skate
not like a
park-
site
skate park had
improvement
a bond
bond
on it.
building a huge structure, but that's where engineering comes in, and that's what they would request.
Yeah, I do agree, we would rely on our engineers to make that recommendation, but I do agree with the supervisor that
Right.
a bond, not, a bond, a performance bond per se, most likely would be appropriate on this project, just because of,
To make sure it's.
if the
fulfilled.
township is purchasing materials, and a bond really is not that expensive, but there is some expense to it, as part of the
I think
project.
it might be 6%.
Jim, that won't be an issue.
Six-
Getting bottom on that.
Yeah,
We're
so,
recommended
It's like 6% of the
that a
cost.
detailed contract be submitted
one.
prior to awarding any work. The construction contract should require the successful bidder to submit the necessary statutory bonds, as well as provide necessary insurance requirements. That, it's just a process.
yeah, certainly, we would expect
And
insurance.
if the ABA, because they're gonna roll up their sleeves and contribute a lot, shouldn't have to worry about what the other prices are gonna be coming in. Didn't we get written up for a fire truck, Mary? Single bidding a fire truck? So,
But that was because he wanted it sooner, and then
but we still
Yeah,
got
it
wrote up
didn't,
for not.
yeah,
for
because
not
it didn't necessarily meet
for
our
not
purchasing
soliciting
order.
three
and
bids.
Gary did get 2 bids. You've got Conti and
Conti, and we had the comparison bid. in
Comparison.
Lake Orion,
right.
yeah, so there is evidence there,
there's evidence of, the research.
Westville.
which is the Lake Orion one, right?
Okay, yeah, that's it.
But you're expecting to see a bid for less than $80,000, is that what I'm understanding?
No.
If we get 3 bids, the current price right now is about $110,000. The next closest one's $68,000 more. So if we get 3 bids, how is that gonna, it would have to come under $80,000 that the township's gonna spend.
Exactly, so the odds
So
are,
that's not even feasible, that doesn't even cover the cost of the equipment to build the lights. So I don't even know why we're discussing this. The board has the ability to override that decision right there, to get 3 bids. It makes no sense to spend the time and effort when you know you're not gonna get a bid under $80,000, or $110,000 for that matter.
I mean, generally speaking, regardless of the process, does the board support lights at the township field?
Yes.
I mean, Mr. Supervisor, do you, I know you've talked that, it's been
We've-
discussed for years, do
we've
you?
talked
Yeah.
about lights for years,
Yeah.
but, okay, the park, it opens up all kinds of stuff. Can anybody use that field at night then? Anytime?
What do you mean, any time of the night, or?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I think we'll put a cap on how late the lights can be on, unless there's a tournament, we work it out with ABA.
Which would require.
No, we're not
approval.
gonna, turn the lights on at 2 AM, so
What's
somebody go out there and play kickball.
So it's
what's
cer-
that?
What's the township ordinance on noise? That's usually what they go off. Township ordinance
Well,
on
actually,
noise.
actually, the park is open dawn to dusk, so it closes now at dusk.
so,
But if the ABA is gonna be allowed to play into the night, can a church group play into the night on any day they want? Can any other taxpayer that's paying for it use the field at their will?
Sure, absolutely.
yeah, just like it is
With an
currently.
agreement with the board, sure.
Yeah, certain, just, that's how it is
We
currently,
run it by the
right?
board.
If the board needed to approve, say annually, the ABA to be allowed to use that field for a game beyond dusk, maybe that's the solution, but it may require some changes to our ordinance or policy, to make sure that that's met, but I would say currently during the day, everybody's given an opportunity, obviously tournaments, there's seasons they schedule and they're on there, but if there's open time, or if they get there first, there's certain, that's allowed, so I would assume it's the same, right? That's my assumption with lights.
And I'll tell you how we run it during the season. Currently, during weekdays and school nights, we are not allowed to start an inning past 10 PM. So usually 10 PM is our cutoff time. And we clean everything up real quick and get the lights shut off.
Yeah, 'cause you're
Usually
dealing
we
mostly
should-
with elementary school kids and middle school kids, they're all school nights.
Yeah.
Yep, so usually we'll turn most of the lights off and leave one on, so people still have vision in the parking lot, and we're able to clean stuff off on that. It's just not the glowing orb that you see, you know, as you drive by the bulb lights on. But 10 o'clock is our cutoff time as of right now. And that, I believe, is something that you guys could discuss further, but getting.
Because we were getting kickball tournaments and midnight tournaments, and we don't even have the gas stations open after 10 o'clock. You know,
Yeah, certainly, and that would require special approval, and I, you know, honestly,
Well, they'd have to reserve.
I would,
the
I would
field
be,
without-
You have to reserve the field, and I would,
Yeah.
like I said, I would have a cutoff time on lights at 11 o'clock unless somebody come in, came to me and asked for request on time, bring it in front of the board and say, okay, we want to.
or if we, or if the board determined otherwise, you know,
Yeah,
we'd
right,
certainly
different
follow that,
timeframe.
yeah.
So I think the general consensus is we're all for the lights. We want just due process is what I'm hearing. We want you to follow the motions and then pull the permits and do the work. I just wanted to address your concern with bidding, and I am a fan of bidding, and Mary and I just went through a great deal for RFPs, and there's a lot of good value in bidding, because we get to learn a lot about the process, and competitive bidding, it does help with pricing. So
In most-
there is
most cases.
a concern that, you know, the ABA is coming in with, I thought it was $30,000 with a donation.
when we were down at 60,000, yeah, when our budget was 60.
Right. When our budget was 60, I heard 30. Is that still the case?
Yes.
So I gotta ask the ABA, and Chad, I think you happen to be ABA representative at the time, and I don't know, Sean, if you guys are, but I guess my concern would be, or a question is, if for whatever reason Chad didn't get the electric job, does that impact the $30,000 donation at all?
I would say no.
And, okay, and I appreciate that answer. That's why we're kind of looking for competitive bids too. I have no doubt that, you know, Chad's company, he's given us the best deal, and we're not arguing that, but the bids would prove that if we ever got called out for it, if somebody want proof that, hey, did you guys look elsewhere? Absolutely.
So you're saying we just need to achieve one more bid before you guys.
I think our lawyer wants to see 3 bids.
But it's also, I think, they want what you put together and proposed bid the same, like apples to apples.
Okay, so, but we need a launching point, right? We have to start from somewhere. And we've been told to not do anything until we agree that we're gonna do this together.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, well,
And
that's,
that's
Right,
what it
that's what
is.
their
Yeah.
We
understanding
need to
was.
make sure that before
The
we
funding
spend
is
any
there.
money, that you guys would like to spend some.
or that they're gonna support.
Because
So-
I can't hire G2 consultants,
Exactly.
$4,000 to do a soil boring test on your property.
Right.
Somebody has to approve that,
right.
right? So we have to appropriate funds to say we can do that. And that's our launch point. From there, I can give you everything. But I cannot tell you, I am not a soil engineer, I cannot tell you that.
Right.
I don't know if anybody in here is. If you
Well,
are,
no, I
Please donate your services, and that would save us $4,000.
didn't even know how they were testing the cement when they put it in the skate park, but they were testing it.
It's pretty archaic, actually, it's simple.
Yeah,
It's like
little
you're
can or
talking
whatever.
fire system, It's simple. They put a rod into a bucket and they bang it.
But I do,
We need a launching point, and this is what we need to get our launching point.
And Sean, thank you for your public forum today, and representing. You gave us hard numbers. I wrote them down. I want to circle back with you, just to make sure, but so far I haven't seen, you know, what the impact is to the organization, and you shared that with me today. You told me the regular season, how it's gonna be extended. You gave me a number of those games. You also gave me a number of tournaments, so we can start dealing with that as well. Because we do want, you know, a healthful, thriving community, and I think lights is a big benefit of that.
well, what was the expanded schedule? I mean,
He's
you said
going
like
from,
92 games to 196. or
16 to
something.
20 games to 32 to 40 in a regular season.
It'd be at least, you know, 40 games in a regular season. We can play doubleheaders during the week. In the spring, when it's cloudy, it's really hard to see that ball. We had a varsity game the other day that started at 4:30, and they almost called that because we could barely see the ball. I mean, it's just tough to see out there when it's cloudy and when it gets darker.
Could you submit those plans to us? Could I ask you to share those numbers with us?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, and the other thing with my story I was trying to get across is that the kids, like Chad and I, that have grown up in Armada and gone to the Ambets Field, that's generational. We got to play under the lights, and that's still something we talk about this day. So my son, a second generation Armada person, got to do the same thing I got to do when I was a kid, and he still talks about that. that's one of the things he loves about this community, and one of the things we love about this community.
It's one of the most amazing things that there are in this community.
Well,
It's bizarre to see it, and then.
No, it's not. I spent 17 years in the Armada Baseball Association, all the way up to the County Mac League in Port Huron. We played under the lights with wood bats with 16 to 18-year-olds. I suggest you don't take 16 to 18-year-olds, they're a tough bunch, girls and all that, whatever, but, more than anything, it needs to be structured right. It needs to be vetted by our engineer and attorney, and the contract needs to come to the township regarding the project itself.
And what I gave before, that was our launching point to you guys. That was not a contract, right?
No.
That was an overview.
That was.
Right, well, it said, well, we may, because I want to know what the electrical's gonna mean, what we're gonna have to do,
And those things are all worked, like, that's worked out, that's not a problem.
Yeah, but that's why we have the engineers to tell us it's all gonna be golden,
Of course,
so then we're covered. More than anything, we're covered.
but we have to start somewhere.
Yep. Yep.
And this is where we need to start.
So my thought is,
We already have a motion.
yeah,
And can we reread that motion, please?
I made a motion, and Jim seconded it, to approve funding in the amount of $80,000 from the budgeted park expense line item 101-756-821-000, park improvements, North Avenue, in order to move forward with the ball field lighting project, contingent upon planning commission site plan review approval, engineering review and approval, pulling all necessary building department permits, and all contractors shall provide a W-9, certificate of workers' compensation, liability insurance, and add the township of Armada as an additionally insured prior to the starting of the project.
you need to include an appropriate a contract. There will need to be a contract between the contractor and the township that spells out the project, and that needs to be vetted through our attorneys.
And a contract between contractor and township vetted by attorney.
So the motion needs to be amended.
And I'll amend that to include that. Anybody want a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Swag, yes. Murray?
Come
Oh,
back
actually,
to me.
huh? Come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick,
Yes.
Getzinger,
Yes.
Grimby,
Yes.
Murray.
Yeah, with the amendment, yes.
Okay, all right. I still have to take a vote on the first one, motion too. I'd like to do that. if I could.
Okay.
Put both of them in there. So the first one, Swag, yes, Grimby,
Yes.
Getzinger,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Patrick. I'll do the first one and then amend it.
The first motion?
We amended it,
We approved the
We
original
approved the
motion,
original,
and then we
we
approved the
amended.
amendment to the motion.
yeah. I'll write it up so it makes sense,
Thank you.
That was a little confusing to me, too.
yeah.
Can I get an order of operations where you're looking for with your site plan, the way you want it done?
Well, that'll come from the engineers. We're gonna give them what you gave us, and they're gonna tell us, this is what you're gonna need.
So we can't get on the site plan, who we get on the site plan meeting for next month? Or if
For
it's-
planning, you mean?
Or, yeah, I'm sorry, for planning, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
there's
You
a
know,
certain,
can we get your
see Christine tomorrow.
secrecy, so now we're working concurrently
Yeah.
and start going together instead of,
Yeah.
right?
I'll get this stuff over.
Yeah, I think one of our concerns, if I can address it, is, you guys turn over, we kind of wanna get this project going. This is 6 years in the making. We want to take these funds that we've appropriated towards it and get it going. No, it might not happen this year, but we would like to see it happen in the next year time. So,
Certainly this fiscal year. So in my opinion, in addition to planning, before it goes to the engineers, we would be expecting, it seems most appropriate to expedite the process that you would get soil borings, get your footing design for the poles, and then they would prepare a package that would go to the engineers. That's how
Well,
I
actually,
envision it.
the whole packet needs to go to planning and the engineer at the same time.
With
Yeah.
the
So that
footing
when it
design,
comes-
do they care about the footing design and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're
They
gonna
have to
know.
have
Planning
that.
does have,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It has to have everything on the site.
planning
plan.
shouldn't care
The
about the
engineers
footing.
are gonna, the engineers are gonna tell you what
I think
you're gonna
Christine
need.
has a checklist for you,
So
Chad.
oftentimes, do they usually
Right.
get the engineering review before planning, or is that not true?
What?
Do they consider the engineers?
Oh, yes, the
Yeah,
planning
engineer
committee,
and
yes.
planner.
So it sounds like you may
Yeah.
need to prepare it for the
Yeah.
engineer first, and, I don't know, depending on timing, yeah. Because it sounds like the planners are gonna want to hear the engineer's review or approval before
Yeah,
they
they do.
consider
Right, because sometimes they'll approve the plan contingent upon
engineering
whatever the
approval.
engineer requests or they're missing.
Yeah, they do the same thing with commercial buildings and whatnot,
Right.
and Shaw went through
Well, then,
everything.
again, just so it's
Right.
perfectly clear, can it go to planning before the engineers send their review letter? Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So Chad's asking, can he continue preparing his submittal for engineers and submit it to both at the same time, or does
Yes,
he have to
both at
wait
the same
until?
time. No, both at the same time.
Okay, so you don't
Yes.
have to wait for the engineer to respond before. we
No,
go to
it goes
planning.
both at the same time.
When's the next planning commission meeting?
It's the first
First
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
First week, first one.
May 4th.
What's that?
May 4th.
May 4th.
It's the Thursday before, or the two?
You have to have the materials in 2 weeks before.
2 weeks.
It's like 2 weeks before, so
Sorry, 2 weeks.
yeah, Thursday.
Before May 4th.
That's like yesterday.
And if you wanna
Not
take
quite.
the stress
Oh.
off of Christine, it's 2 weeks and a day.
So,
You get, yeah, you get it.
May 4th.
which that's not realistic, though. As far as, yeah, but that's 6 days away. So maybe, but I suspect not.
So the June 1st would be the next one.
May 4th it is, right?
When's the season end?
Never.
Not with lights, right?
It transfers from rec league to all kinds of travel during the summer. The nice thing about the ABA, it was always during the school year. And then kids kind of broke up and went different ways in the summer to play for fed teams and whatnot.
Speaking of lit, I think it's school night tonight, right? Yeah, these kids are out, yeah. We bored them to death. Well, thank you for coming out, though. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
You're welcome. Trustee Getzinger?
No comments, thank you.
Trustee Grimby?
Yeah, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter. Be safe and be healthy. Thank you.
Treasurer Murray?
Nothing to add. Happy Easter.
Clerk Swiak?
Nothing to have Mr. June?
And I need to make the public aware of the fair's 150th year this year, and there's going to be paperwork available for floats. They're putting together a parade for the 150th year. They haven't put it on their flyer yet. They're trying to snag the Clydesdales to be a part of this. So there will be information. Nick Schaefer is taking the lead from the Fair Board as to the parade route and things. We've got maps and all that kind of stuff. So, but the public needs to be aware of the fact that we'll be celebrating 150 years of the fair this year, and we'll have some participation. So there'll be room for probably 12 or 14 different categories of floats, from marching bands to animals to motorcycles and fancy cars. So,
Wow.
you know, and I know that the lineup is going to be in the open field next to the elementary building on the north side of the fairground, and the parade route is center to Fulton, Fulton to Maine back to Prospect, no, Spencer, and then Spencer back to Center Road and back to the parking lot. So it should be a really, really nice thing. I remember making signs for the 125th fair. I can't believe it's been that many years already. But so we're excited for that to be coming to the community. Everybody should be aware of that. So after saying that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:59.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.